10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 109. Hey everybody, how are ya? Happy Friday to everybody. We are back with another episode. This is episode 109 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. What's going on? How are you? Hope you had a great week. Hope you're ready for another jazz lesson. Today's a good one. Today's going to really put some light on a topic that I think a lot of people out there are wondering about. We're going to be talking about how to play the blues even over a major chord. So before we get into today's episode, a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to get all of the PDFs from all of these episodes, all 109 episodes, head over to our Patreon page and you can get those for a small donation every single month. Only $3 and you get access to everything that's going on over there, which is a really wonderful thing for your jazz education. So you can head over to patreon.com/10minutejazzlesson, or you can head over to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, and click on one of the Patreon links in order to get over and show your support. This is a listener-supported show, so anything that you can do for us would be really great. Before we get into it, I wanted to give a shout out to all the people that donated this week. Thank you to Felix, Gregory, Jim, and Jean. I don't know if that's Jean or Jean, but whoever it is, thank you so much for showing your support, for signing up to pledge, getting all of those PDFs. I got a message from a couple of those folks who signed up this week just saying that they downloaded all the PDFs and now they have a folder or a binder just filled with stuff to work on. So tremendous benefits to that. Head over, show your support. All right, let's jump into today's episode. So today we're going to be talking about playing the blues over chords that we don't necessarily think about playing the blues over. And when I say playing the blues, I mean playing with a blues sound, right? And when I think about blues, what I think about is that flat third, the flat third. Even though we're not playing over minor chords, we can give it a real blues flavor by simply introducing that flat third. Now, some of my favorite musicians throughout history, they're masters at taking like a major 7 chord or a major 6 chord or even just a major triad and injecting some of that ever-present in jazz history blues flavor over it. Now, this could be an intimidating thing because if you don't know how to use that minor third over a major chord, it's really not going to sound very good. So today we're going to examine a couple of different ways that we can use that minor third, give our playing a little bit more of a blues feeling, kind of like Sonny Stitt would do. I think that he's like the perfect example of somebody who does this to, the greatest degree. If you listen to him play over like rhythm changes or really any tune, he injects that blues sound into what he's playing, regardless of whether the chord is quote unquote a blues chord, right? So we tend to inject that flat 3 over a lot of dominant chords, right? Because it really, really works over that. The sharp 9 tension works over that dominant chord. And we can even kind of hang out on it when we're playing over a dominant chord. But when we're playing over some type of major chord, like I said, either a major 6 chord or a major 7 chord or a pure major triad, it gets a little bit more dicey. We definitely can't hang out on it. That's going to be the first thing that I want to kind of throw out there, is that if you're just parking yourself on the minor third over a major 7 chord, that might make you scared to use it in another situation because you realize, okay, this doesn't exactly sound that good. Here's what it sounds like to hang out on a minor third over a major 7 chord. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that that's not a hip sound. It totally is, but it's very, very dissonant. So if you're looking to play something that has a little bit of that blues sound, you don't necessarily want like super dissonance, because that's not what a lot of us are looking for when we're playing over a beautiful jazz standard. We don't want to come out with maybe the level of dissonance that requires. So here's what you got to do. You've got to use the minor third as a passing tone to the major third. And that can really give us, again, that blues flavor without becoming super dissonant. So what I've done on this week's exercises is I've given you a bunch of 1-measure/2-measure phrases that you can play over a major 7 chord, but all of the minor third movement is either to or away from the major third. And I truly believe that this is the best way to start getting that sound in your ear, and maybe learning how to use that note a little bit more could open up your playing, give you some new sounds to use over major 7 chords. If you're sick of the way that you play over it, you play every time the same way, and you want to get a bit of a different sound, a bit of a different flavor in it, these are going to be the lines to start studying, start writing some of your own, all that good stuff that I always tell you guys to do on this show. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play through the exercises that are at the top of your exercise sheet for this week, so that you can hear some of the phrasing that I like to use in order to give my major chords a little bit of a blues feeling. All right, so here are the exercises at the top of the page. So all of those lines, nice short little bite-sized pieces of vocabulary. And the reason I'm playing piano is so that you can hear it with the left-hand chords in there. So they're all over a C major 7 chord. So this should give you some ideas. Maybe you can take some of these lines and put them in other keys. Now, the one common thread between all of these lines, the majority of these lines, is that I'm using what I like to call the major blues scale. Now, what this scale is a combination of a major pentatonic, which is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 in a major key, and I'm combining that with the blues scale. Now, the blues scale is characterized by the presence of that minor third, right? And over a dominant chord, we would use a flat 7 in the blues scale. But since we're doing this over major chords, we want to make it look more like the major pentatonic scale. So all I'm doing is I'm replacing the second note of the major pentatonic scale with the flat third. So now you have 1, flat 3, major 3, 5, 6. So it's still a pentatonic scale, and I like to just call it the major blues scale because that's, I don't know, in my mind, that makes the most sense. You might not agree with that. You might call it something different, but I'm calling it the major blues scale because that's what I've always called it, I guess. Now, the only note that's not in this scale that you will see in, I think, only one of the exercises from this week is I'm using the major 7 when the line is kind of screaming for it. When I need that leading tone that's going to lead me back to the root, I will use the major 7 in combination with the major blues scale. But let's check out, this is the second part of your PDF from this week. I've actually written out this major blues scale. Let's check out what it sounds like. So you can hear that's very reminiscent of the blues scale, just with a couple of notes changed. And hopefully this illuminates a little bit of what you hear a lot of players doing when they get to maybe that big major 7-1 chord over one of your favorite jazz standards or over rhythm changes or whatever. and you hear them referencing the blues, most of the time they're using this scale. So what I've basically done is I've worked backwards. I've showed you guys a bunch of short phrases that I wrote, and then I showed you the scale that I used to write them. So what you should do is do the opposite. You should learn the scale first, and then you should come up with a bunch of short or long phrases that you compose yourself so that you get a little bit of your own personality into it. But this could be sort of the next step for a lot of you to get that different sound in your playing, to do something besides just playing major stuff. This has been characterized by blues musicians for decades and decades and decades, this kind of bluesy sound over a major chord. It really adds some awesome flavor, some unexpected sounds to what you'd be playing over a major chord. So try this out. I guarantee you that it will definitely start to affect your playing almost right away, because it's really a pretty simple concept when you get right down to it. Use that scale, come up with stuff. All right? Make sure you send me any questions that you might have, 10minutejazzlesson@gmail.com. Remember to leave us a rating and review on iTunes if you are into the show. And remember to support us on Patreon if you feel that this stuff is valuable enough. For $3 of your hard-earned money every month, you get a lot of really, really cool stuff over there. Okay, we'll see you on Monday with a brand new episode. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.